Good morning. I'm Brett, and welcome to my backyard. Today we are inside. It has been 22 days since I made the first part of this video, and the reason it's 22 days later that we're making the second part is, let's see, here we go. In the first part of the video, we were just putting our eggs in the incubator, and as we mentioned at that time, chicken eggs take about 20 to 21 days is the usual start of the hatching cycle. Now, these are the ones that have hatched over the last 24 hours. We still have a few more in the incubator. Just because you've gone over the 21 days, don't get rid of the eggs just yet. I would advise to wait at least another 5 days. I've got several of them in there still pipping. We'll see how they turn out. And one bit of advice, some people I know they get anxious and they think, oh, the little chicken's having some trouble in there. If you see it coming and it's made a hole in the shell but it hasn't gotten out yet, fight the urge to help them get out of the shell. Sometimes they have to just take a break for a little while. It's exhausting getting out of a shell, and so just let them go on their own. I know it's sometimes sad, but if they can't get out of the shell, they are probably too weak to make it anyway, and that does occasionally happen. Luckily, we haven't had that problem here, but we're having a pretty successful hatching cycle so far. Even though these eggs were collected, it was more than a week we were collecting eggs, and I did not candle any of them this time to check. We just stuck them in there and hoped for the best, and we're wondering if we'd get any, but looks like we're going to have a pretty good hatching cycle out of these. And so what I was wanting to talk about today is once you pull them out of the incubator, temperature is going to be one of the most important things for these newly hatched chicks. Most of your incubators are set at 100.5 degrees. Between 99 and 102 degrees is the usual hatching temperature for a chicken egg. Now, once they come out, they chicks still need to remain warm. As you can probably see, a couple of our ones that just came out this morning or towards the back there, they haven't quite dried off as much as the ones closer to the front here. They will here in a few hours, but we still need to keep these little chicks warm. And so when they come out, we want it to be about 95 degrees at the very beginning. As they go through, we're going to cut that temperature down 5 degrees each week for the next few weeks. Most of the time, these chicks, it will be 4 to 6 weeks before we put them outside. We want to make sure that they're fully feathered. Once they're fully feathered, they'll be able to withstand the elements. And I know some people are worried about chickens and the cold temperatures, which we're just about to get in the hot season, so we're months away from that. But chickens being too hot once they get older is more of a problem than chickens being too cold. Chickens can survive very cold temperatures if they're healthy. And so, but for the little ones here, until they're feathered, they do need to be kept warm. As you can probably tell, I have an old bird cage here. Now, because of this, you can use lots of different things for your brooder box here. Because of the wiring, if I was just to set them out into this cage on their own, they would just run right out them holes in the side. And so that wouldn't be good. That'd be unsafe for them. So what I've done is I've just got this cardboard box here. It's a good starter. After they've been in here for a few days, I'm going to take some cardboard and I'm going to line the bottom part of this cage here so that they're not able to get out, but it'll give them a little bit more room in here. And then the good thing about this cage, it's got the pull-out drawer in the bottom. And so once we have them in here, we want to prepare some water. I got a water bottle here in the corner. It's important that they get water even before food. They'll need water within a couple hours. Food, they could probably go several hours before they start eating food. But some people will try to pick up their chicks and dip their beaks in the water, and that's good. You do not have to do it with all of the chicks. If you do it with a couple of the chicks, they will teach the others to come to the water and the food. So don't worry about, especially if you've got several, like we've got several here, trying to remember if you've gotten every one of them over to the water or not. They will find it. And the feed is the same way. Another important thing here is I'm doing layering, because anybody that's had any kind of animal knows we've got to clean up. And so in the very bottom layer, I use these paper sacks like you get at the grocery store. They're good and thick, pretty absorbent. And I'll put them down as the first layer to make sure nothing gets through that. And then I put a layer of newspaper, which the newspaper spread out to the edges is easy to curl up and dispose of. And then I use some of these pine shavings here. Pine shavings are very absorbent, and they also help with the smells as well. And all I do is I just layer. I'll do a layer of newspaper, usually a few newspapers thick, and then a pine shaving, and then I'll layer them up. Now I'm not going to go 12 layers deep, although you could if you wanted to, but that makes it more unmanageable for me. But I'll usually do at least 2 or 3 layers. That way, whenever I'm ready to clean here later today, I will be able to just set the chicks to the one side, roll up the paper, put a new paper back down, and go from there. And the reason you can put them onto the pine shavings, I don't do it at the very beginning, because they'll get down in there. The pine shavings are more loose. I'm wanting them in their first couple hours to kind of get their footing here, and so I just put them directly onto the newspaper to start with. After they get a little bit older, they can go directly onto the pine shavings if that's what you'd like to do, and then you can just roll up them pine shavings with the newspaper underneath it and dispose of it rather easily. If you do, you don't have to use shavings at all. You can just use newspaper. I have in the past just used newspaper. Paper towels will work as well. But if you do use the shavings, it's very important. Pine is very good. Do not use cedar shavings with the chicks. The cedar, anybody that's ever been around cut woods, you notice there's different smells in the woods. The woods will feel differently. Cedar is a more oily wood. If you've ever parked underneath a cedar tree, that sap that it emits, it's not good for the little chicks, especially the little ones. When they get older, you could probably have some cedar out in the chicken pen, a little bit of cedar shavings. It's not going to be a problem. But especially with these younger ones, the cedar dust, it's a lot finer, I think, than the pine, and it can cause respiratory problems with the chicks. I know it causes respiratory problems with me. As you can probably tell, I'm having some allergies this morning again, and so we don't want to disturb their breathing any way we can. And so anyway, just it's important, have a little food available, a little water. You don't want to give them too much of either one. You want to just be checking them a few times a day here to start with. And it's more important to change it out more often. Make sure you got enough to last until you'll be back to check on them next time. But don't worry about having to have a feeder or a waterer for each chicken here. They'll share just fine. And so hope y'all have enjoyed that video today. If y'all have any comments, please leave them below. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time.